The scream tore through the morning calm of Willow Creek, sharp and desperate, halting my jog mid-stride. My sneakers skidded on the wet pavement as I rounded the corner of Elmwood Drive, heart pounding. Before me, a scene unfolded that felt like a fever dream. A woman, her face twisted with righteous fury, was pinning a man in scrubs to the ground, metal handcuffs glinting as they snapped around his wrists. He thrashed, shouting, "There's a dying patient inside." The woman, a badge pinned to her chest like a war medal, sneered, "You're trespassing, and I enforce the rules." I froze, my breath catching as neighbors spilled onto their lawns, phones trembling in their hands. This wasn't a dispute, it was a clash of power and humanity, and it was spiraling out of control. My name is Ethan Carter, a 38-year-old cybersecurity consultant who moved to Willow Creek 2 years ago, lured by its manicured lawns and promise of peace. That peace was a lie, shattered by Deborah "Deb" Larson, the Homeowners Association president whose name alone could hush a room. Deb didn't just enforce rules, she wielded them like a sledgehammer, fining people for unapproved mailboxes or slightly overgrown shrubs. But this? Handcuffing a doctor during an emergency? This was madness. The doctor, Dr. Nathan Hayes, was in his mid-40s, with short dark hair and a stethoscope dangling from his neck. His voice was hoarse but steady. "Mrs. Larson, Mrs. Thompson is on a ventilator. She needs me now." Deb, unmoved, ranted about unauthorized vehicles in a restricted zone, yanking his arm until he winced, the cuffs biting into his wrists. My stomach churned. This wasn't about parking, it was about control. I fumbled for my phone, hitting record with shaky hands. The footage captured Deb's icy glare and Dr. Hayes' pleas, a damning record of her tyranny. Neighbors gathered, paralyzed, some recording, others whispering. Clara Evans, a frail retiree, shuffled forward, her voice trembling. "Deb, stop this." Deb shoved her shoulder, nearly toppling her. "HOA business," she snapped. "Stay out." Rage surged through me. No harem world is code and firewalls, not confrontations. But seeing a doctor restrained while a life hung in the balance flipped a switch. "Deb, unlock those cuffs," I said louder than intended. Her lips curled. "Mind your business, Ethan, or you're next." The threat stung, but I held my ground, phone still rolling. "Dr. Hayes pointed to his hospital ID. "I'm on an emergency call. My medical bag's in my car." Deb dismissed it like a fake ticket. The absurdity treating a physician like an intruder made my blood boil. Sophie Thompson, the patient's daughter, burst from the house, tears streaming. "Ethan, my mom's barely breathing. The nurse told me to call Dr. Hayes." She glared at Deb, who was now on her phone, likely summoning police to back her warped justice. Time stretched, each second heavy. I glanced at Sophie's panicked eyes and stepped closer. "Deb, give me the cuff keys. Now." She laughed, bitter and sharp. "You think you can order me? I have the right to detain him." She waved a laminated bylaw, her scripture of power. Sirens wailed, and a police cruiser pulled up. Officer Daniels stepped out, brows furrowed. Deb pounced, brandishing her bylaw and ranting about trespassing. Dr. Hayes spoke calmly. "Officer, I'm a doctor. There's a critical patient inside." Sophie sobbed, explaining her mother's heart condition. Daniel's gaze flicked between Deb, the ID, and the crowd. For a moment, I feared he'd side with Hershey, was that Con V. Wine Sing. But he frowned. "Ma'am, remove the cuffs. This is an emergency." Deb doubled down, insisting on her authority. Daniel's patience snapped. He unlocked the cuffs with a universal key, handing them back with a pointed look. Dr. Hayes bolted to his car, grabbed his medical bag, and sprinted inside. The crowd exhaled, but tension crackled. Deb's chest heaved, her eyes darting as her power crumbled. She muttered about lawsuits, but Daniels cut her off. "You can't detain people, especially in an emergency. This could get legal." An ambulance arrived, summoned by Dr. Hayes. Sophie emerged, pale, but relieved her mother was stabilized, though the delay had been perilously close to fatal. Dr. Hayes followed, rubbing his wrists, red from the cuffs. He nodded at me, a silent thank you, his eyes burning with fury. Word spread, Dr. Hayes was suing Deb for assault, false imprisonment, and obstruction, seeking due law $2 million. The neighborhood buzzed. Deb had ruled with an iron grip, but this was her reckoning. I couldn't shake the image of her sneering as she cuffed a man vying a life. That evening, my wife, Rachel, set coffee on our table, her brow furrowed. Ethan, you okay? This is insane. I nodded, nerves frayed. Deb's unhinged. If she'd do this, what's next? Rachel frowned. You recorded her. She hates defiance. Be careful. The thought lingered, but I refused to cower. Deb doubled down, posting flyers claiming Dr. Hayes was an intruder who threatened safety. Neighbors tore them down, pinning some to boards with mocking notes. A group met in my driveway, venting years of Deb's abuses, fines for wrong siding, threats over basketball hoops. Each story painted Deb as a tyrant. The emergency HOA meeting was packed, the clubhouse air thick with anticipation. Deb stood at a podium, flanked by VYC President Ellen, who looked miserable. Deb's voice was defiant. Dr. Hayes VY OLAT Section 4.2, requiring non-resident authorization. I protected our community. She tapped her bylaws, but the room murmured disbelief. I stood. Deb, I was there. He showed his ID. You cuffed him, ignoring pleas about a dying patient. That's assault. Heads nodded. Ellen spoke, voice shaky. Deb, this could be false imprisonment. Deb slammed the podium. You're out of order. But the crowd was done. Mr. Grayson, cane raised, roared. You've terrorized us too long. Applause erupted, rare and defiant. Deb stormed out, vowing lawsuits. Ellen approached me later, trembling. I should have stopped her sooner. She threatened to ruin me. I nodded. You spoke up. That's enough. The neighborhood rebelled. Stories of Deb's harassment poured out. A veteran fined for a flag. A family bullied over a birdhouse. Dr. Hayes kept a low profile, but I caught him checking on Mrs. Thompson. Thanks for standing up, he said, voice tight. She could have killed someone. Then my tires were slashed. Late at night, I saw a figure with a crowbar flee in a dark SUV. Police noted similar vandalism, but I suspected Deb's hand retribution for my VY Deo. I had no proof, but it steeled my resolve. The HOA board voted to oust Deb. She arrived with lawyers, ranting about betrayal, but the vote was unanimous. She vowed retaliation, but her threats felt hollow. Days later, a sheriff served her lawsuit papers. Neighbors watched as she screamed, forced to accept them. The lawsuit gained traction with my VY Deo, witness accounts, and a damning invoice. Deb had bought police-grade handcuffs weeks prior, suggesting premeditation. Rumors swirled of her offering Dr. Hayes hush money. One night, a restricted number called me, offering compensation to retract my statement. I hung up, furious. Deb was desperate. The hearing packed the courthouse. Dr. Hayes' team presented airtight EVY Denke. Cuffs, delayed care, testimonies. Deb's lawyer called Dr. Hayes aggressive, but the judge wasn't fooled. The handcuff invoice drew a rebuke, and the case was set for trial unless Deb settled. She refused, defiant. Months later, Deb settled for a rumored due lot $2 million, selling her house to pay. I saw her on her porch, eyes sunken, as movers loaded her things. Our gazes met briefly. She turned away. A realtor sign went up that day. She was gone. The HOA, led by Ellen, rewrote bylaws to curb abuse, prioritizing transparency. A community picnic brought tentative healing kids played, neighbors laughed. Dr. Hayes continued house calls, greeted warmly. Deb's shadow faded. That day of cuffs, the pleas, the near tragedy taught us how fragile normalcy is. Deb thrived because we let her too complacent until lives were at stake. But we stood together, exposed her, and reclaimed Willow Creek. The memory lingers, a reminder that unchecked power can turn rules into weapons. And sometimes, one act of courage breaks the chains. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.